Hello, everybody. Welcome to another random Merlin live stream. That's just going to be kind of a Q&A hangout thing. Feel free to send in questions about, I don't know, stuff related to the channel, other geek topics we like to talk about, anything pretty much fair game if I know about it, and even if I don't. Sometimes I learn interesting things from you guys. Comics, movies, sci-fi, anime, video games, all that good stuff. So, yeah, don't really have anything planned. Just kind of was sitting here and was a little bit bored. I kind of got done working on some side projects I'm kind of working on. I've been currently working on this audiobook thing. I kind of want to go through some classic literature and kind of do some audio stuff there, practice voiceover narration, some voice acting and editing, sound effects and stuff. So I've got one more chapter to read, and then I've got to edit the whole thing and take out all the blips and add in effects. I'm just like, man, it's not like I've been doing consistently. There's been breaks. I kind of do it whenever I have like free time in a day. I'm feeling like it. And just recording a chapter. Uh, hey, sir, how's it going? Got to do another Q&A live stream, so feel free to send in questions. Um, And yeah, it's just every time I underestimate, like I'm like, one of my dreams was to like do voice acting and stuff. And so I'm kind of working on that as just a potential way to refine that. And then, it's kind of one of those things where you do it and you're like, oh man, like just recording one chapter, I'm like, my voice is screwy and you're learning different techniques. You gotta have the liquid on handy, the water, and you gotta practice your breathing and all that stuff. So I'm no expert. It's just a hobby, but I've been doing that. The thing is, I actually am part of this website. It's actually something my sister recommended to me a couple years ago. I think it's Casting Call or something. And it's basically where people come together and you can do like nonprofit things, or you can do actually like official paid things for voice acting and audio stuff. It's pretty cool, and it's something I actually did a couple little tryouts, but before I just didn't think my microphone was that good, and I had a lot of issues kind of figuring out how to record things properly. And I got like a decent microphone, but I had all this really annoying feedback and stuff. So that was really kind of frustrating for me, just trying to get like a decent mic and figure out the settings. And also I don't really have the best recording space, so it's kind of hard to like get isolated stuff without all kinds of background noise. Like right now I probably could rearrange the room, something I need to do. Like I'm right next to a window, so if I want to do any recording, the best time to do it is kind of late at night, because there's no birds, there's no kids, there's no cars going by. So I'm like, sometimes, like, I don't know, I might put up some unedited stuff, but like sometimes when I'm recording the audiobook or whatever, I'll hear like a car and I'm like, well, this is supposed to take place in like the 1880s. So clearly I'm gonna like wait for it to pass, or I hear like a plane flying overhead. I'm like, do. And then I'll go back, and obviously I can edit that out. But I kind of wish I had a better space. So I want to do some fan dubbing, because sometimes there's like, I saw one for like a Halo thing, and there's some anime like what do you call it, audio dramas and stuff. But I would like to do those for free. But to be honest, I was thinking about it. I'm like, I really want to get better in terms of my equipment, but also my technique, because I'll go back and listen to it and I like it, but I'm like, I feel like I could have acted that better. I could have delivered that line better. And it's just like, even for free for somebody's project, I'm like, I want to keep practicing. That's why I'm like doing my own stuff, so I can put it together and say, okay, well, if I feel like it's refined enough, then maybe I can have something to show and it's decent. So it's really just practice for me. Hey, Dan. What's up, Dan? You gotta watch as long as you can, but your internet's super slow. Been uploading today's quarantine video for about 8 hours. Wow, what's that video about? Yeah, my buddy Dan from Dan Reviews It. We just uploaded a Frasier episode on his channel the other day, and he said he's kind of like me. Being quarantined, like, it's not like I'm not going anywhere, but I'm trying not to be around a lot of people or big groups of people. So yeah, I'm gonna use this time while I can to try and work on some YouTube stuff and some video stuff and side projects if I can. That's kind of what the last couple hours were. So you're uploading a video. Can you try a Scarecrow impression animated series version? You want me to do one now? Because I think he had two different voice actors. Ooh, It's like, hello. I always thought that it would be fun to play or voice Scarecrow. He would, I see whenever I picture him in the comics, like the versions that I was exposed to, he always seemed like a really deranged, he's like a deranged mad scientist type. So I always picture somebody who's like kind of refined, but a little bit on the edge. The animated, hey, Vaughn the Stampede, what's up, man? How you doing? Just trying to think like a voice for Scarecrow. Scarecrow, like he's a refined, educated man, but he's got a lot of vicious anger underneath there. He is the master of fear. I will destroy your mind, Batman. Yes, feel my fear gas. Ha ha! He's got the ha ha. There's that one version where it's like, you cannot withstand the power of Scarecrow. You know that. You know, that was the one voice actor where I think he sounded much more pompous and he wasn't particularly scary. Ha ha! You dastardly fiend, you. But then I think he who voiced him the second time? It was somebody. I think it was it Jeffrey Combs or somebody. He's really a really good voice actor. He really good character actor in general. Yeah, man. Indoors. What you been up to? Doing more Twitch stuff? I saw you've been doing a lot of those unsung videos. They're getting some pretty good hits. People in the chat, I got Bond the Stampede at one time, and among some people in some circles known as Phoenix Kai. He is a fellow YouTuber. Used to review a lot of anime and manga stuff back in the day together, part of the Phantom Group, Green Clan, all that. Um, I think I think the one thing we collaborated on, I remember really good was Digimon. We did some Digimon kind of like underrated. I think is it like soul R&B artist? I think it's R&B artists mostly from like the 90s that don't get enough exposure, I guess. So yeah, definitely check out his stuff for I guess if you're interested in that sort of thing. They're pretty good videos. I know they're pretty popular. Let's see. Only a half hour long. Wait, oh, the video. Yeah, yeah, yeah. 20 shows to binge while you're quarantined. Oh man. Yeah, I'm catching up on Twin Peaks. I gotta get through that second season so I can finally watch the third one. So I can finally get caught up on that. So, and I guess I could start watching Frasier again too. I kind of I kind of thought Hero actually suggested something, a couple potential videos you guys wanted me to do, a couple of Full Metal Alchemist ones, and I'm like, yeah, it's been a while since I did some Full Metal Alchemist character analysis videos, but I think I have to go back and watch the anime again or both of them because it has been years. It has been years since I've seen either anime in full. I feel like, man, I think Brotherhood. I think it's been like maybe 8 years, maybe like 7 or 8 years, and I think the original series might be longer because I remember I went back and watched the '03 one a couple times, but I never was able to get through the whole thing for some reason. So I'd start again with enough time going by. So I think I might go and just pick up where I left off and then go back and pick certain episodes because I got to do something about. I think Scar is going to get a video, and I guess Kimberly. So I might have to look from both series. That might be something. Uh, Dino Andre. Yep, and Jeffrey Combs. I knew Jeffrey Combs was one of them. Trigun? Trigun. Yeah, I would like to go back and watch Trigun again too. That would be a good video for some potential there for discussion. Yep, just doing more unsung stuff and working, and yes, R&B artists from different generations. Is it just the '90s or is it other ones? Because I remember it seemed like a lot of the stuff you were talking about was '90s, and I didn't know many of the artists. I knew a couple of them, but yeah, it's been doing pretty well. It just got up 3,000 subs, man, so it's growing. Yeah, is there a way I can cosplay Scarecrow without the mask? Uh, you probably could, but I don't know how many people will recognize you. I mean, I think you could just say you're a. I guess you could just dress like in uh, a suit or a lab coat or something, and just like have some disheveled hair, longer hair, and some glasses, and you could say, "I'm Doctor Jonathan Crane," and then people that don't know automatically who Scarecrow is would be like, "Ah, I get that reference." If you want to be a little more clever, actually probably be I guess an easier cosplay to do. You could just have like a little like name tag that says Dr. Jonathan Crane. People are like, it's the kind of thing I do, like something not super obvious. And I guess it's technically not as much time and money to put into your costume, but I think people might appreciate that though. And I guess you could just make the whole Scarecrow costume without the mask. Could be another way. Let's see. Twin Peaks Tuesday. Here we come. Yes, yes. 7, 50s, 60s. Oh, man. All the way. You were guessing where he came from? Yeah, he comes from where he lives. I think he's from Detroit, if I'm not mistaken. Home of RoboCop. RoboCop. But yeah, everybody, if you do me a favor, feel free to like the video, share it on social media, spread it around, get some more people in here. Feel free to send me some questions so that I'm not just kind of like sitting here just talking with. Because I will admit I was kind of like I debating doing this because I was like I really enjoyed the last one we did. I'm like I don't have anything really like that's sticking out on me as like a general discussion thing to start off with because you always want to have that element to start off with. So feel free to send me in some questions, please, just to get people get the conversation going. Then maybe they'll spark other questions. Anything you could think of. Remember, this is like movie stuff, anime, manga, comic books, video games, geeky stuff, sci-fi, uh, or music or anything random. I don't know. Just help me out because I'm not sure. Let me see. Yep. Anime Trigun Vash the Stampede is a good character. Definitely. I've done a couple videos on him in the past. There's one thing I was kind of thinking about. Oh yeah. I think it was last night. I watched the video done by Totally Not Mark, who is a very good YouTuber. Does a lot of Dragon Ball documentary with Team Four Star, talking just a little bit about how they started the series and the production of it and their process and some questions. And I thought I was just thinking about how cool it really was, just how a bunch of people kind of online from all over the world did that little fan dub, their little satirical homage to the show, and just as a fun little internet web series. And then it grew into like its own popular franchise, essentially its own beast, and it just became like such a part of yearly life for me and a lot of my friends. And it's really cool how it evolved and how it improved over time. And I really, really enjoyed the show. And I remember when I was watching the little documentary, I actually got a little bit like sentimental. I was like, wow, this is kind of sad having to say goodbye to Dragon Ball Z Abridged. And I totally understand why they ended it where they did, because clearly they were getting burnt out and they had to kind of look beyond the show and say, okay, maybe we've done as much as we can. We're going to end it. You know what they say? I think Tarantino said you want to try to go out on top and then not continue on afterwards when it's a bit lower quality, and then start just trailing on. So I think it's respectful to make that kind of decision. So I understand they did that too, and you've been doing something like that for 12 years, especially when it was the main thing the channel was popular for, but it wasn't really making them any money. So, and a lot of them, I think, may have had jobs and stuff otherwise outside of it. Like, I think the three main guys did most of their stuff around Team Force Chart Channel and the related shows, but I think they may have done other things for sources of income. So I totally get that, and it's really awesome that they were able to keep it up for over a decade. And I didn't discover the show. This is what this is going to become now. I'm going to get nostalgic, so I'll get to your questions in a second. But yeah, I when I watched it, I got kind of sentimental, and I was like, wow, like show is ending and it's kind of almost like another show and saying goodbye to some friends. And of course, I'm probably going to rewatch the whole thing again at some point, but just how it kind of was a commentary on the fandom and integrated jokes from the fandom, but then kind of grew to really be like an interesting exploration of the characters. And really, really, really was a very well written show and made with deep love and reverence for the series and the fan base and the history around it. And I love it. I felt like, connecting with people that I never met who had a lot of the same discussions I did back in middle school or high school and even beyond, looking back on the show in a different frame. So I think Dragon Ball Z Abridged is one of the main reasons why Dragon Ball's popularity endured and found other audiences and was able to be looked back upon with a kind of a more critical eye, unironically, through the comedy, and I think boosted the popularity that led to Super and Kai and all that stuff, and for better or worse. But I really think Dragon Ball Z is, along with a lot of the YouTubers on here, kind of keeping it alive, I think was very important. And yeah, I remember I didn't discover it when they first made the show. I think I was in college. I think it was like 2010 or something. I think that was when I went to Shippensburg, and I remember I had some downtime in the library when after I was like in between researching things or in between classes or something. I'd hang out on campus because I commuted, and in the little computer lab there, I spent a lot of my free time. Mostly, that's kind of when I got really into Dragon Ball. again, I kind of was getting back into anime because there was a couple years where I really wasn't, and Dragon Ball was kind of my reintroduction again. And around that same time, I discovered Dragon Ball Z Abridged along with Kai, and I guess in a way, it kind of helped me find a new appreciation for the show and learning more about it, and trying to kind of think about why I really liked those characters as a kid and why they still resonated with me and with so many other people. Just trying to figure out why Dragon Ball, and I guess in a way why a lot of other things are continuously popular. And I think I discovered it. I think they had gotten all the way up to the Namek saga by that point. I think it was right after the Ginyu Force showed up. So I was able to marathon like what 15, 20 episodes. And I remember when I finally got to that point where, oh yeah, I've been marathoning it because there have been a couple years they've been existed all up to this point. And then I had to go through that process for the first time, having to wait for months and months and months for these people to make the episode. And it's just so awesome that they did that pretty much just out of love for the people loving their stuff and for their reverence to the show and their homage to it. So yeah, that was really cool. I remember I think I had to wait for months and then like, longer periods of time. And like, man, I do think that I think they said in the documentary, they said the Cell Saga was like they thought it was their best writing, which I think made sense because I think I want to get, this is another discussion point. I think the Cell Saga is still the best arc in all of Dragon Ball thus far. It certainly was for me growing up, and I really think it's good with the time travel, with Trunks and with Cell and the androids, Piccolo's development, some good stuff for Krillin there, and Vegeta, and obviously Gohan and Goku. There's a lot going on there. But I thought with Dragon Ball Z Abridged, I think it was a very sharp show, but a lot of my friends noticed that by the time they got to the Cell Saga, honestly, I think because the Cell Saga is just the best written part of the show, the actual manga, I think that there didn't need to be as much comedy, and they just started doing like a slightly exaggerated version of the show with their own little in-universe jokes, but there were less blatant fan jokes and internet jokes and shock humor like there were in the early seasons. So I think that the Cell Saga was good, but I actually do think the Saiyan Saga and the Frieza Saga were probably the funniest. So yeah, but I thought it was pretty good there. I guess some questions are coming in, so I'll try to get to you guys. So yeah, feel free to send in more questions now that I'm done ranting about that for a second. Yeah, people were upset about that. They were, but I understand why. I understand why. I was a little upset about it, but I also was like, I get it because even if they weren't feeling burnt out, I think the Majin Buu arc has so many problems. It might be too easy to make fun of, so maybe it wouldn't really be homage. Might be way more mean spirited. I have a feeling they didn't like that part of the series as much anyway. Let me see. Did you watch the anime Trigun? Yep. Oh, you watched the movie Badlands Rumble? Nice, nice. I actually didn't see Badlands Rumble, though I think it's like a spinoff, but I don't think it's directly like a version of the show or anything. Like some anime condense it. Yeah, I like Trigun a lot. I think Trigun is probably still in my top 20 shows. It's another one of those shows that I had a couple friends that really liked it and they hyped it up. And so in a way that kind of turned me off to it because people bugged me about it. And I remember watching it in the first like handful of episodes. I thought Trigun was decent. I thought it was fine, but it didn't really pick up for me. It didn't click until he actually kind of starts meeting the what is it, the Gung Ho Guns, and starts fighting the main villains, and it gets to the main plot. Then it just kind of really like gains focus and becomes a much darker space western thing. Other than that, I don't mind the more comedic episodic stuff in the beginning. I think that's a big part of Trigun too. But for me, around episode 8 or 9, when they actually start delving into the main plot, I really like Trigun. So I think Trigun for me kind of you have to introduce the characters, I guess, but I think once it picks up, it's really great. But yeah, Trigun's up there for me now as one of my favorites, classic anime. But it did take a while for me took a couple watches for me to actually grab onto it. But yeah, it's a good one. Let's see. Team 4-star cast has the skills to do more than just DBZ. Yeah, they do. They do. I think they actually got a commission. I think they actually did actual real official voice acting for like an anime or an animated series, a cartoon. They actually did one. I think a bunch of them actually dubbed a show like officially. So yeah, for them to do other things that are their own creative works and to grow beyond that, absolutely. They deserve it. Absolutely. I think that it was really awesome. They were able to create something like Dragon Ball Z Abridged just for the fun of it. For all of our amusement and everything, for all the laughs over the years, but they definitely deserve to do their own thing. Scarecrow and Arkham Knight. It's a good question. That's a good question because I have not beaten Arkham Knight because I hate the tank stuff and it's really hard for me to deal with that. I love the Arkham games and in Arkham Asylum, I loved the fact that Scarecrow had such amazing sequences, and that's where I think they kind of turned him into Freddy Krueger with all the nightmare elements there. So yeah, no, I really liked him in the Arkham games. And he was cool from what I've seen of him in Arkham Knight, but he's not really like the he was touted as the main boss, but I know he's not, and that kind of irritates me too. So that was one of the things I was really hype about when Arkham Knight was coming out. Like, oh, because he wasn't in the second game, which Arkham is it Arkham City. That is like one of my favorite video games of all time. I love Arkham City. Really good story. Really awesome. I tend to love a lot of the stuff that's based on IPs that aren't movies. Like if it's a really good comic book movie, action adventure game. I love those. So yeah, Arkham City is really up there for me. But Scarecrow wasn't in it. That was like if the one thing that could have made it a perfect game for me is Scarecrow was in it. He was absent from that game, but then they brought him back and they were going to hype him up because Scarecrow is awesome. But yeah, yeah, I'm kind of sad he hasn't been in this one as much. So I probably need to just sit down and finish it, but I'm sort of bouncing around between a bunch of old video games that I need to go back and play again and or actually finish or do old things with. Like I kind of back in an Elder Scrolls mood again. I'm playing Skyrim right now, so that's kind of been my main attention. And I was playing Oblivion too, but I'm stuck. I'm stuck because I got turned into a vampire, and being a vampire in Oblivion sucks. So yeah, I think Honey Lemon is home. I hear a car outside. Hey, Frederick, what's going on? Frederick II of Prussia. It was time to move on with TFS. Their channel had no entries other than the DBZA. People didn't care about their other content. I think the channel still probably might still go on for a while, though I will admit I can kind of relate it. There is something about being like a YouTuber, being a content creator. And when you have like one or two primary series or shows or elements of content that really draw people in and it does, and then you kind of get tired of it and you want to do something else. And then those views, even though you feel like you really have passion for those things, they don't get as many views, and you're like, that's kind of it's a little disheartening. And I admit I kind of felt the same way because I've got like my there she is at the window being creepy. Hey, honey. And yeah, and I had a lot of focus on a lot of those the character analysis videos, and I hadn't really been like just into anime as much for a while. And I felt like I did a lot with Fullmetal Alchemist for a while and Dragon Ball. And then I've been trying to do like these JoLo's movies and experimenting with other videos that I have more passion about because I have like a lot of things I still want to talk about, like my favorite movies has been my main focus. But I think those are some of the best videos I've ever done, like JoLo's movies, Flamethrowers in Cinema. They really are. I think they're some of the best. I want to prove that I could make some good quality stuff, but they have like no views. Like it's I'm still doing them because I enjoy them, and some people really seem to like them, which is enough for me. But man, it's like very very few. But I don't know if I completely would agree to say that they should completely close up their channel. I think they're going to keep it up for a while, but I think the other guys might go off and do other things, maybe find other voice acting gigs or something. But I mean, I saw they are putting up other things, like they're doing a podcast and they're doing other things, but it's like, yeah, it is kind of. They even said they know what you subscribe for, and the abridged videos get like millions of views, and their little podcast gets like 40,000 or 50,000. Like, I mean, that's still pretty good, and considering it's not your main content, but that's a big dip. Like, so, but I think those guys are pretty entertaining. I kind of wish that one thing I wish there's two things I wish, and I know it's kind of ironic because I'm saying it's okay to not do Dragon Ball Z Abridged anymore, but I wish that Lana Pator would go back and finish Yu Yu Hakusho Abridged because he only got up to like before the Dark Tournament. I'm like, maybe if he had some more help, some more people to edit it, some more people to voice act it and help write it. Like I feel like he's got the backing now. He could do it, but I guess maybe he just lost the passion for that because I know Dragon Ball Z Abridged took up all of his time and energy with everything else. So I'd love him to do that, and I would really love him to do this other web series he did back when he was on Channel Awesome. He did this thing called Outside the Otaku, where he was just, I guess he said he wasn't like a hardcore anime fan, so he was just doing these like random videos about non-popular anime. Or actually, it was like more mainstream anime, but I wish he would go back and do that again. And there's a cat. It's Bean. Here. This will get me views. It's Celine. Say hi, Celine. You're on YouTube. I don't know if she likes it. Think she likes it? Yeah, think she likes it? Oh, okay. Okay, wait. Oh, see if I can do this. Oh, yeah. Do you think it's working? Oh, she's so cute. She's so good. This is the bean. Her name is Celine, but we call her the bean. Why, honey? Because she's a string bean. She's our little bean. She's beanie. Crap. Oh, she wants to go. Ow. Ow. A cat sharp. I know. I'll make it. But yeah, I wish she'd go back and do that again. Let me see what other questions come in here. Bye, honey. I'll be down in a bit. Probably go on like for about another hour, maybe. Oh, she wants me to take my time, so we'll be here for a while. Let's see here. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of want them to still do some content. But yeah, I wish he would do Hakusho Abridged, and I wish that he would just bring back one of those shows. I bet he knows a lot more about anime now that he just doesn't want to just do the mainstream stuff. So that's probably why. From Roberto, I found out about DBZA when Cell was seeking Android 18. Wow, so you found out about it like towards the end. You sound like you might be a younger man or woman. I don't know. Yeah, a person, Roberto Soto. But yeah, I discovered it like right around the Ginyu Saga. But man, think about it. If you discovered it back in like 2008 or something, just an obscure thing. They said it blew up really quickly though. And that was pretty awesome for them. But yeah, then you'd have to like have those long gaps and periods of waiting, kind of like a Tool album. You know, you have like a decade to wait between each album, bigger and bigger periods of time. So, be a fan of things that are worth waiting for. But I think for the most part, they took their time delivering good content, which I believe, I think Troll told me that the reason why the Orville isn't getting another season until like later this year, like over a year break, because Seth MacFarlane wanted to make good quality stuff. So, hey, if you take more time and you produce something better, I'm all for that. So, really just hats off to those guys. I still support Team Four Star a lot. I actually did a podcast with Psycho X a couple years ago. He was a guest on the podcast. Really nice guy, really cool guy. I'd like to talk to him again sometime. Support his channel. He's got a lot of interesting videos too. So Psycho X is cool, and those guys all seem pretty cool. So support them whatever they do. Thank you so much for everything you did with the series, and I'm curious to see what else they do. They got Hellsing, they got the Final Fantasy one, so they got other things they can do. Let's see. Did you watch the Tenchi series? I did when it was on Toonami back in the day. Tenchi is one of those shows that I have kind of like this weird sort of relationship with. Like I've seen a lot of it at disparate points, and I know that, and it's also one of those things that it requires several wikis and lots of information because I think Tenchi has like a couple different versions of the same show, and I've seen different versions of the show, but sometimes randomly it'd be like on Toonami or something. Or I think my sister had like a couple of DVDs. I think she had one of the shows and she watched it. I watched some of it with her, and I was like, so I don't know which one I've seen the most of. I think it was the original, but it's kind of like Full Metal Panic, where they had one that was kind of like more funny and cutesy, and then one that was like really serious, and you're like Whiplash. Like these are just different, very different tonal versions of the same show. It's really weird. It's interesting, but Tenchi, I think I've seen some of the original. And is it there's Trouble for Tenchi? There's a couple. I liked what I've seen of it. I like the idea of kind of like the reverse harem, where the it's the guy and he's surrounded by all these women who like him, but it's got the whole sci-fi element to it. So he's like caught up in this intergalactic war, and there's like a chosen one princess. And I actually, it's funny you bring that up because I do. It's been a long time, but I think was it Ryoko, I believe. I really, really liked that character a lot. She was like, I think when I was a teenager, I guess I remember there was a question, the fandom group back in the day was one of our, I think questions was like anime crushes. And I think that she might've been my first. She was pretty cool. She was like a bounty hunter. And I don't know why she was into Tenchi. I don't know why anybody was into Tenchi, because he was kind of a doofus. I guess that's the joke, but she was probably the coolest of the girls. She had like a lightsaber thing or something. She tried to kill him at one point. I think she's like hundreds of years old. Like I said, it's been so many years since I watched Tenchi, but I think she was probably my favorite character in one of the versions I saw. Frederick. I started God Emperor of Dune. I still find it hilarious that Duncan Idaho keeps returning as a Gola 4 times already. Frank Herbert brought him back. That's one thing that's really funny about Duncan is that guy. He might be. He's kind of like I guess the C3PO. He's like the link in the chain in the series. Like for some reason, I guess maybe because Herbert thought he was like the everyman because he was that person. He was loyal to the Atreides. He was interested in finding about the Fremen and kind of determining what was going on with them. And I don't know. We established in the first novel that obviously Paul looked up to him. He's like this really good guy, and then they kind of exploit that with the Tleilaxu and the plot in the second book. So Duncan apparently is a really cool guy, and I guess I don't know why they decided to make him the centerpiece. I guess because he's an everyman, sort of. So in a way, he sort of comes back. But yeah, I don't know why they picked him, but Duncan, it's interesting too because even in the movie, the David Lynch movie, they kind of sell you that Duncan's this really great guy, but he's only like in 2 scenes, and then he dies. You're like, no, and like, why did we care so much? Like, he seemed like a cool guy, but it's like the one problem with that movie, we don't really know many people, but I still like it. From Roberto. I still believe TFS can do the BoJack movie in the Afterlife tournament saga, but the Boo arc, like you said, it's too easy to make fun of. It's too easy. Like it wouldn't really be funny. It would just because the thing about the Boo saga, and I've struggled with the Boo saga a lot as a Dragon Ball fan over the years because I remember I used to not really like it that much, and I still think it's the weakest arc. I know it's got its fans. I think Boo has the most interesting backstory, but I think that tonally, he's a less interesting villain than Cell or Frieza or Vegeta. And I think that the plot, even by Dragon Ball standards, goes on too long. And obviously, I don't like how they handle it with Gohan, how they resolved his character there. I think he should have taken the reins. Controversial, perhaps, but I think that was the best route to go. That's where they were leading up with, and then just bring Goku back again. I didn't really like that. And I think that also, I have heard that Toriyama wanted to go back to the funnier, sillier roots of Dragon Ball, which admittedly growing up, I didn't know as much about. So for me, like when Majin Buu seemed to be kind of almost making fun of itself, like that, it seemed like Dragon Ball Z was making fun of itself, and it was a lot sillier. Even though the whole thing is kind of silly, even when it's serious, it's a bunch of guys flying around shooting giant ball beams of lasers at each other, and blowing up planets. There's magic and talking animals. Even when we take it seriously, it's silly. But when you're younger and you're hardcore into something, you forget that. So for me, I think it was a bit of a step back in terms of growth for the show. But my point is, I think that it is a little too easy to make fun of. But I would love them to do the BoJack movie. I know they said they're not doing it anymore. I would love them to do the BoJack movie because that joke, the joke with the planet, it has been going through now that it blew up. BoJack would be really fun. But if they feel like they ended it in a really nice way and they said everything they needed to say, maybe it'd be nice to get some bonus things like they could do the movies again. Them doing the movies again might be fun. I feel like that's more of a possibility than doing the episodes. But I don't know. That probably takes a lot of time too. Same as when Black Mask was made the main villain Origins. Yeah, I liked Origins though. I thought Origins was actually pretty decent. Are you looking forward to the Final Fantasy VII remake? Actually, I am. My fiance is a bigger fan of Final Fantasy than I am. We actually we played through 10. I never actually played all the way through it, so I had a lot of hate about that game. Heard a lot about it from some people, and she kind of swayed me. And I actually think 10 is pretty good now. So I haven't played all the games. I played a couple of them. 7 is one I played, though I didn't get all the way to the end. I want to actually go back and play it again and do it. It's like kind of on my list of. That's kind of one of the things. I got all these old classic games. I just want to play to completion or much more of, play it all. And that's one of them. Yeah, I'm looking forward to 7's remake. I don't know about them splitting it up. That's been something we've been kind of disparate about. But no, I think it looks cool. I wonder. I don't know. I'm kind of weird. I when it comes to video games, remaking classic ones, I feel like everybody jumps on it. I hope the only thing they really change. Well, I don't know. Should they change the gameplay in addition to the graphics and everything? I think that's well, I mean, it's going to be more of an action. I guess that'd be fine. To be honest, that might be more for me and to get more mainstream audiences into it. kind of widen the audience for that, it's probably a good idea. I'm looking forward to that, but there is a part of me that kind of likes the classic format with the turn-based stuff and even the old pixels and the chibi design. I'm like, there's something about like the game kind of being very much a piece of the time it was created and the technology that was available at the time that I really like. So I don't know. I have mixed feelings about going over a classic, even if it's an update. I don't know. It's just I don't know if you really need to remake it, but I'm surprised they hadn't up to this point because that's a moneymaker. So I'm sure it'll be fine. But I like seven, though it's not my favorite. So I'm not as emotionally invested as I think some people are. But I'm curious to see how it is. He should finish it or redub the old episodes. Yeah, 28, a male. Aha. Okay. So wait a minute. So, all right. So you actually found it a bit. Okay. You found it pretty late then, actually. Nice. Italian name. Okay. I was thinking Spanish, but I guess they're, what do you call it? Latin roots. So similar. Let's see. I'm telling you this because you asked my sex, sex genre, gender. I think that means gender. Yes. Yes. Well, now I know. It didn't really matter. I don't really care. But it was more of a curiosity thing. But yes, nice to meet you, 28-year-old male, Roberto. How can you make Boo funny? I thought Boo already was funny. I thought that was the point. I thought he was a comedic villain, right? A lot changes going to Final Fantasy VII. Yeah, there. Remember when people were complaining about what was it, breast physics or something? Like what? That's the stuff people complain about. Oh man. Oh man. Did has anybody here seen the heard about the new Avengers line? Troll actually introduced me to this yesterday. The new superheroes that I guess Marvel's introducing to what were they? The New Warriors, I think it is. New Warriors. Anybody heard about that? Oh man. I think there's this new team that they're making. I think it's supposed to be like people that are socially conscious, kind of about things like that. And they've got they got one character who's like got a magical backpack that you can pull magic out of it. Yeah, okay, Frederick knows what I'm talking about. And they got there are two characters. Okay, this is the thing I don't like. I mean, the backpack thing is lame, but it's like I could kind of see it. It's like a Saturday morning cartoon thing. I'm like, okay, like I try to be open minded. I'm not a mean person. Some people are being real mean, okay, about like the social justice warrior thing. I try to be open minded. I think you can go too far. I think it's about how you present your cases, and I think a lot of times people just go so over the top that people don't want to listen to what you say. I think delivery is the problem when people get passionate. But the point is, Crazy Boy's already on it. Snowflake and Safe Space, and man, why would you call them that? That's what I don't understand. Like I know what he was going for, but those are insults. Those are supposed to be demeaning things you say to people to kind of nullify what they're saying. Like it's kind of like a cool story bro sort of thing. It's why and I'm thinking there must be like a generational issue. Like he doesn't understand maybe what that means. Or maybe he's just trying to take ownership of it and say, you can make fun of us. But I just think it's way too I think it's making it way too easy. When I saw a video about it, and it did seem like it was a parody, like a self-satire of the whole movement and of comics, like comic books. It was I thought it was pretty mean-spirited looking. If Troll hadn't shown me that and that I saw it wasn't officially from Marvel, I would have been like, this is a joke. This is obviously like somebody's trolling us, but no. Oh, that was embarrassing. I kind of like the design of the one guy, but his power is he's connected to the internet all the time. And I'm like, I guess that's kind of useful, but like that's kind of a lame superpower. I'm like, if this was like 1995, that might have seemed kind of cool. It would still have been lame, but like then maybe. But if you didn't, but I'm just like, yeah, like if you have a phone, I guess the only time you're useful is if you're in some out in the wilderness and you don't have a signal on your phone. That was bad. I admit I kind of liked the edgy goth punk vampire kid that's supposed to be related to Morbius somehow. I guess it's a tie into the movie coming out. But man, that was bad. That was really embarrassing. That was just like, guys, like I think that in a lot of media, I know people have been complaining about how this is actually a good topic. I'm curious what people think about it. I try not to get too political, but I believe that media is often used as a reflection of some of the issues we deal with in society and the world around us, and a way for us to kind of connect over those issues when we might not be able to otherwise. I think that's why fiction is important as an art form. There has been a lot of controversy in a lot of shows, like in sci-fi, especially like Star Trek and Doctor Who and Star Wars a bit, and I guess even in comics, like in with the New Warriors here, about trying to kind of appeal to different demographics and be socially conscious and more inclusive. But I feel like the way people are doing it in the writing is kind of covering up the quality of the show and sometimes interfering with things. Like I heard something about in Doctor Who, she's like not really Gallifreyan, and I guess they're like the center of things. And I think was it the original Doctor was like I guess an African American or African origins, which I was like fine with, but some people are getting up in arms about it, and I'm just like, it's whatever. But a lot of people have been really upset about how some things are being changed and a lot of the storytelling quality has gone down. I think even people that support a lot of these causes were angry about these shows making some of these changes. So I guess what are your thoughts about some of that stuff and how I guess the socially conscious messages being at the forefront of a lot of these big shows and how that's being handled now? What do you all think about that? Because I don't think it's as prevalent there. I think there are like little things they try and do to maybe include certain people, but they don't bring too much attention to it. I think that's a better way to be more inclusive about certain things because otherwise you're saying, oh, look, we have this person here, or we're dealing with this thing, as opposed to like actually integrating into the story, not drawing too much attention from it. I don't know. It's just, man, it's been something like with that New Warriors thing. I get the idea, I get the message, and that's the thing. You know, things like Star Trek and comic books and anything. Oftentimes writers will use that for escapism, but also as a means to talk to us about a story, something they're experiencing, something they're dealing with. Echoing that sort of stuff, and there's a better way to do it. I mean, if you're there was probably a more subtle way, and I know it's comic books don't have to necessarily be subtle, but I think there was probably a better way. Yeah, desperate pandering, snowflake. I don't fully condone Comicsgate, but I can see some of the issues about the comic books industry tanking in sales. Yeah, well, comics. You know what? That's actually one point. I think maybe when it comes to comics, specifically superhero comics, that might have just been another desperate thing where someone's like, "Hey, our books aren't selling that well. Let's try this because maybe we can bring in some people that might not typically read comics, I guess, though I don't know whether or not you were into social justice causes means that you wouldn't necessarily pick up a comic book. I don't know if that has anything to do with anything, but that might reek of desperation. You're right, because I know that comic books are kind of archaic. I mean, comic books are cool. I love comic books. I want to collect more myself, but I confess that I have very few actual comics. I've got a couple that I found at some conventions. I've got a couple as gifts sometimes. Like if I go to Wizard World in Philly or some local convention and somebody's selling comics, like we have one here at the Harrisburg Comic Con in the hometown the last couple of years, I try to go and pick up some comics, but buying like new issues every month, like I would like to, but for one thing, I really have to be invested in the story, and a lot of times I'm not. I've been out of the loop with modern comics for years now, and it's money. It's money, and I have the streaming services, all kinds of entertainment. I've got other things I'm dealing with, bills, and I just don't have the money to be committed to it. Like sometimes I want to say, I'll sign up for like a line, and if there's like a new promotion for a storyline, maybe I don't know, maybe I would read like for a year of some new Spider-Man thing and do a review of those issues on the channel or something, maybe. But that's a big maybe, and so the comic book industry is something that's struggling. I often buy the trades. I just like having the storyline together when it's done, which probably still helps Marvel or DC, but A lot of stuff's online, and I think that people just don't really buy comic books as much anymore. It's not like the '60s where you go out to the store and you buy it, at like the newspaper stand, and ooh, this is the comic for the month or for these 2 weeks, which would have been really cool. I mean, I appreciate the medium, but I think it's really interesting because I know that the comic book industry, specifically Marvel, they were struggling in the '90s, trying all the different gimmicks with the crossovers and the collectible covers and the implosion and whatnot. And they sold the movie rights, and I think it's the popularity of the movies and the shows and the games and the other media that has kept comic books alive. It's only because people are more into those types of media now so much, and those are so successful that it allows the actual comics to continue, which I think is fascinating. So I think as long as they're there, they can still make them. But I wonder how many people are actually reading them, because I think only diehard fans keep up with them. And I don't know. I don't. So yeah, maybe it's possible that's desperation. But please, everybody, share. Please think of some questions for some discussions, because um, I'm thirsty. I need to take a second to drink here. So yeah, please send in questions, because throat hurts after a while after you keep talking. People like my shirt. Got the different ships here. Got Millennium Falcon. I got Enterprise from the original series. Serenity from Firefly. I think this is a fighter from Battlestar Galactica. And wait, Battlestar Galactica. Oh yeah, it's the Futurama ship here. So yeah. Can anybody guess from the shirt which ship is my favorite and which show is my favorite? And then maybe that'll give me some options for discussion. So remember, I got the Millennium Falcon, Star Wars, Enterprise from Star Trek, original series. Got Serenity from Firefly. Got the delivery ship from Futurama, TARDIS from Doctor Who, and fighter from Battlestar Galactica. So send in your guesses. Favorite ship from the sci-fi franchises on this shirt, and favorite series. And then I'll tell you why on both questions. See, I'm making you ask me questions about my own answers so I can hear myself talk, and you can hear it talk. And that's what we're here for. So please send in your guesses. Favorite ship, favorite series. Go. I'll give you a minute. Whoa. Okay, I got a couple guesses for the ship. Anybody have a guess for the series? Okay. Anybody? All right. I'm gonna look at the time here. I'm gonna give it 13 more seconds. Send in your guesses. Send them in. Send in the guesses. Send in the clones. Clone Saga. All right. Star Wars? No. All right. Time's up. Okay. So, Roberto says the Enterprise. Yeah. Yeah, I'd say so, probably. And Frederick, you were also right. So you guys both get points there. But my favorite show is actually the original series. Though it kind of switches. I like DS9 a lot. DS9 is probably the best written one, but I grew up watching a lot of TOS with my dad. He was a big fan of the original series and a lot of those movies. So most of my exposure as a little kid was to the originals and some Next Gen. But my dad was not as big a fan of Next Gen for a while, so that kind of grew on me over time. Because I remember it was weird. The original series of Star Trek is what I grew up watching with all those VHS tapes and the movies. So I loved the original series. I watched some Next Gen because there were some episodes, but also the Next Gen movies. I saw all the Next Gen movies, so I knew like vaguely. I watched a little bit of Next Gen because it was on when I was real little. So they had some of those episodes on in the background, but I was not as familiar with it. But I knew it. I liked it enough that I watched all the movies and I liked them. But I watched some of the show, but it was original series and Next Gen for a long time. And then I watched a little bit of Voyager and Enterprise, a little bit of growing up, but not a lot consistently. But DS9 is the one that I actually saw later, and that's probably the best one in terms of writing. And sometimes I think it's my favorite, but purely out from love, nostalgia, original series is the way to go for me. Uh, Enterprise is the ship, though. Yeah, it's probably my favorite ship. It is. I don't know if I can give you a particular reason. I like the design, the memory associated with it. Um, yeah. So I don't know, guys. Any more questions? Any discussion topics to think of? Because I'm uh I'm running kind of low on things to think about here. I need a second, so I'm going to share this around on some social mediums and see if I can get us some more people in here. You know what I mean? Actually, you know what? I'll put this in the community tab too. That might help. So I'm going to share this too. Facebook's loading. So yeah, think of some questions, guys. Think of some questions. Anime, comics, sci-fi, movies, random stuff, whatever you want to talk about. I'll try to give you an answer. Let's see here. Okay. Oh yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Somebody had a question on here. My buddy Justin, he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna see if Samurai Jack still holds up." He's like, "So far it does." I'm like, "Yeah, of course it does. It's Samurai Jack." All right, guys. Well, I was told by the lady to keep this up, so I'm gonna try and I want to keep doing a stream, but I need more questions and I might need more people because I don't want you guys to feel like you have to do questions. But tis the point. I'll put this in the group. Put this in the goop. In the goop. Goop. Let's see here. Actually, wait. Um, Shar on Facebook. Actually, wait. I don't know if this is the right one. Come to think of it. Let me see here. Uh, this is also one thing I noticed too. Back when you're doing live streams, there's the link that has my side of it, but I don't know if that necessarily shows the link that you are both watching. So I think there's only two people watching right now, two or three. Let's see if I can find it. Oh, here I am. Okay, so all right. Okay. Yep. Yep. I'm actually gonna give that a like too, because why not? I'm enjoying it. All right. So here it is. Here's the actual link. So let us go over to this place here. I'm gonna go to my Facebook group, Merlin the Mighty. Ooh. Very least I'll get some people to watch afterwards, you know. Oh, after Rat's Night of Terror. All right. And da 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 da. Boom. All right. So hopefully that'll get us some more likes here. And I'm gonna go and share it otherwise. Well, I guess I won't share that way. All right. Oh, actually, duh. One last thing, guys. I'll put it in the community tab because sometimes people do that. Uh Actually curious, do you do you guys get notifications when I put up videos, or do you get notifications in the community tab? How do you guys like hearing about things? I don't know. Do you hit the subscription bell, notification bell, whatever it is? I think a lot of people that are on my channel, I don't actually have that button clicked. No, I don't think so. All right, let me see here. I'll put this in the community tab. Try to desperately get some more people on here. All right, here we go. All right, that should take care of that. All right, so let's see. Did you give me any questions? Why is it that many geeks like us like professional wrestling? I never got into it that much. I would like to find the connection from geek culture to that sport. Aha! Now that is an interesting question. One which I think I may have an answer from my perspective at the very least. Okay, well, the truth is, I kind of felt a similar way about wrestling. I did not really grow up with it, to be completely honest. I did not grow up with wrestling, and so I always thought it was kind of dumb. Like, okay, it's fake. Like what's the big deal, right? Let's see. And well, I I have actually watched some videos by. Have you ever seen Super Eye Patch Wolf? He's really a really good YouTuber. He talks a lot about anime and cartoons and things like that, um, and films. Really good YouTuber. Another person I makes better videos than I do. Better videos than I do. I got to make more like him. Um, he did this really interesting video talking about the power of storytelling and the level of storylines that go into wrestling and how sometimes the line between the acts and reality kind of blur and how people could be connected across the world by by trying to like get involved in wrestling. And there are a lot of people that are really passionate about it as a sport. And you have to look at it like this: it's not really a sport. It is, but first of all, it's stuntmen. It's choreography. But you could get into the idea of it and the plot and say that it is a sport and you're following this wrestler like it's boxing or something. You could if you wanted to, but wrestling is a form of theater. It's stage performance. It's about acting. It's about writing and direction and lighting and staging and stunts. Like it's all just it's all fake, but it's all an orchestrated thing. It's like a touring like carnival act or something. It's theater essentially. It's what do they say? Soap operas for men, for like is the old term. But that's essentially what it is. Like wrestling is just a form of theater, just another form of entertainment. That's all it is. Storytelling and kind of respecting a lot of the stunts that go into it, the physicality. Actually, another thing that really helped my appreciation was the Netflix series Glow. If you haven't watched it, I highly recommend it because that's about based on something that existed with a bunch of female wrestlers who kind of have their own touring act and their own show that I guess was in the 80s. And the series is really good, but that actually helped me really appreciate the acting and the writing and the whole idea behind wrestling and the culture behind it was really cool. Was really really cool. And the guy that plays the director Silva, it's kind of like one of my heroes. I aspire to be. I don't know if I want to be necessarily like him, but I kind of want to make a bunch of cheesy movies like him. That would be kind of cool. Get a little cult following, I guess. But yeah, yeah, Glow is a good show. I think that might offer an insight too, and the documentary behind that. There's some interesting things about wrestling. But Frederick, Best, Noldor, Elf King, Thingolfin, or Gilgalad? Well, I'm going to honestly. I remember who Gilgalad is. Thingolfin. Okay. Okay, he was in third. Okay, I remember Gilgalad. I'm just trying to remember. Like Fingelfin. Fingelfin. I'm trying to remember let me remember this. Get it. Oh wait, wait a minute. The Sons of Finwë. I think I've always, from my memory, I think I always liked Gilgalad a little more. But I'm gonna have to refresh my memory a bit about that one, to be honest with you. I know I've heard of both of them. They actually were both mentioned, I think, in the text recently. Huh. So you think Japanese storylines are a bit more intense, huh? Nice. Nice. Well, all right. Maybe I'm gonna have to think of something else here. Hold on one second. Hmm. I wonder, will this let me do this? I don't know if it's going to. Uh, no, I don't think it is. Well, uh, honestly, I think that we're going on for about an hour now, and it doesn't seem like a lot of people are watching, guys. So, if you can think of any more questions, you can send them in. Otherwise, I might have to wrap it up. It's getting kind of quiet now. Finkelfin was Feener's brother and fought as one-on-one duel with Morgoth. Oh yeah, yeah, I remember the image. He was killed, but he gave more fun permanent lip. Ah, well, that's pretty badass, if I must say, right? The fighting Morgoth is quite an accomplishment for sure. Yeah, I mean, but it's understandable he did die then. But a limp, though, Morgoth would always remember. I always liked the name Melkor, by the way. I always preferred that one. Melkor. Just sounds so evil, doesn't it? All right, everybody. Well, that was a good little stream. I think I'm going to wrap it up now. But as usual, feel free to send any other comments or questions or suggestions for other videos. In the meantime, uh, from the anime I saw at the time, Shinobu Sensui is definitely up there. There may be more villains that are more powerful. Are there any out right now that you can think of as a suggestion? Because I will admit, there have been some anime that have come out in the last couple of years I've seen that or haven't seen where the villain might be more powerful. But Sensui was pretty OP in the context of his show. When I was talking about that, remember that in the video I said in the context of the series he's in. Like I knew that there were villains that were probably more powerful, but relative to the heroes in the show, he was pretty OP, to be honest. He was. All right, Roberto, Frederick, everybody else that was watching, I'm gonna wrap it up here. But I appreciate everybody hanging out. Feel free to, let me know. Everybody try to stay safe and healthy. And I will talk to y'all later. Some new videos coming out soon. Should be a Joe Loves Movies on a particular sci-fi film coming out by the end of the month, and maybe I'll try to tackle some of those character analysis videos about Wonder Woman or maybe Scar from Fullmetal Alchemist, perhaps. All right, everybody, take it easy. Stay magical.